What about the back seven, though? Are we feeling confident or are we concerned about where Oklahoma's at in the back seven? We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Oklahoma Sooners defensive front looks really, really good. The linebacker crew looks really, really good. Secondary needs a little bit of work. So, Jay,
tweaking. After
this game against Maine, I think it was easy to kind of see some of the issues. I think it was just a focus thing. It was a game time got moved up. You were playing a vastly inferior opponent, and there wasn't great crowd energy. And so I think some of it was just you just weren't totally locked in from the jump.
Right.
And I think that's probably where Brent Venables was most disappointed, as he expressed in his post-game press conference. So how are you feeling about the secondary, the linebacker crew, as we are now through 9 games of the season, getting ready for Missouri? Where does that stand with you?
I'm satisfied. I think we're in great hands with Kip and Kobe and Kanik, right? Lewis Carter, Sammy Omosigho. I feel like we're in really good hands. And honestly, did we see Sammy Omosigho in that game? I don't know if we actually saw him play in that game. At least it didn't feel like I don't recall seeing any snaps. I'll let you look that up or whatnot. But I think when
17 snaps.
He did have 17 snaps. Okay. I just didn't feel like I saw 24. It more so, like you said, it felt like they were kind of sleepwalking through that game. Again, you understand it. This is, Maine. There was nothing for us to truly be concerned with. But this was also a fascinating thing, though, John. I was on the social medias, and Maine had a whole little kind of like recap of their visit.
Yeah.
So this was the largest stadium they've ever been to. First time they've been in front of a stadium of 80,000 people. And they basically kind of docuseries it all the way through into game time. And it was really cool to see it. It gave you a different perspective to understand that touchdown for them felt pretty good. Kind of wish we had given them a little cheer, because we don't understand that even from their perspective. They've never been in front of a crowd this size. So this can be intimidating for them. So the fact that they were able to score to start the game while, we're basically sleepwalking, that's a huge deal for them. It's a huge confidence boost for them. Now, granted, we knew that we weren't going to lose that game. I saw them score and I was like, we're still going to get 2 or 3 massive plays and end up, winning this game by a lot. Sure enough, next play, Javonte Barnes runs at 70-something yards. But the defense, after that drive, they said, you know what? Let's go ahead and turn the intensity up. And they turned it up a lot. Literally, they punted every single drive, or they turned the ball over up until their final drive of the game. So the opening drive and their closing drive, they were able to score. In between, they couldn't do anything. We stifled everything on the defensive side. Kip Lewis was all over the place. And you could tell that Zach Alley said, let's turn up a little bit of the intensity. We're going to throw a little bit of more matchup zone in there instead of just straight zone. And we're going to do a better job of breaking up some of these passes and getting there. And then that's when you can look at the young players and how they play. Jeremiah Newcomb and Eli Bowen were everywhere on defense, especially Eli Bowen. That dude was out there reading screen passes and running in the backfield, hitting dudes and making them drop passes, or getting to the quarterback and knocking him down with, for a tackle for the loss. He had an insane game, John. Yes, it was Maine, but it's all about the instincts and understanding when to break off and go after the quarterback and when to stay in good defense and knock down passes. You want to see those fundamentals regardless of who the opponent is, because that's not something that's just that easy. To me, the cornerback's position is still the hardest position to play in the game, just because of how many variables are truly there for you. But John, I'm not concerned about anything in the defense, because as you mentioned, the secondary needs a little bit of work, but that's where we've got the most transfer guys. So we got that spot, offensive line, are the 2 places where the majority of our players are really transfers. Well, I guess you could say defensive tackle too, but that's different. We got a bright future ahead of us.
I think people forget that Carter Peavy is actually a pretty solid FCS quarterback.
Yeah, he really is.
Honestly, probably could be playing FBS football somewhere.
He could,
but I mean, he's a good ball player, and when you have somebody that's got that experience and his ability, it allows you to have a little bit of confidence. And I think about it this way, man. If you're a team like Maine and you come into a place like Owen Field, you're probably jacked up. Like, you're energized. You've probably got more energy. And maybe, listen, sometimes there's nerves, but when you have a veteran leader like PV is, then you're able to kind of help to control the chaos a little bit better and get everybody focused to play their best football. And they did. They had a good drive. Now, it was gifted a first down on a delay of game penalty on the Oklahoma Sooners defense.
Still dumb.
Yeah. That was just a gift from the refs, I think. Just say, hey, you're Maine. Let's, we'll give you a shot here. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes you do start sluggishly. And Oklahoma did. You can't afford that this week against Missouri. You can't afford that against Alabama or LSU. No. You can afford it against Maine. I know Brent Venables doesn't want to hear that. The coaching staff doesn't want to hear that. The players don't want to admit that, but you can afford it. At the same time, they locked in, right? They shut it down from that point on. Maine was not able to do much of anything. I think they punted 7 times the rest of the game. And again, Robert Spears-Jennings had the forced fumble / recovery. And I think that showed the level of effort turned up and the intensity turned up as he gets beat, but then he chases the play down from behind and then punches it out and then has the wherewithal to recover the ball before it goes out of bounds. How many times do we see that ball get, kicked out of bounds after you force the fumble? No, listen, the defense is not a concern for me. I do want to see more consistent secondary play, but again, I think that's improving. And you are playing a young Eli Bowen out there. You are playing a guy like Kenai Walker who has slowly developed. He's not a star by any means, but he can make really good plays for you. It's still a developing unit. It needs a little bit more help and a little bit more time, but I think it's getting there. And I'm comfortable with Zach Alley, with Jay Valai and their recruiting ability. Again, you're like you mentioned, it's transfer guys. So now it's time for a guy like Jeremiah Newcomb to take over a job. Got to get Gentry Williams back healthy. Can somebody get my man a Winter Soldier arm to protect his shoulder? Like, got to have my man back next year. Got to.
Yeah.
If you have Eli Bowen and Gentry Williams starting on the outside for you, your cornerback room looks so much better than it does right now.
We got to give Reggie Powers III his flowers as well.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for him. That interception, that coverage was great. Like, he read the wheel route, stayed step to step with the wide receiver, tight end, whatever it was. And when the pass came his direction, he immediately got it there. Boom, snatched that thing out of the air. I tweeted out that picture, that video, and I was like, man, that was elite coverage. Unfortunately for the freshman, it was called back because Danny Okoye decided to try to take the quarterback out, which kind of want us to keep doing that, please. More of that.
Hey, yeah, listen, you don't mind a few plays of over aggressiveness. It's a lot harder to get people to be aggressive than it is to rein in aggression. So be aggressive. EPL, Danny Okoye, I like a little assertiveness, a little aggression. That's okay with me. To me, it's still an interception because the play had no impact on the throw, had no impact on the play at the catch point. Reggie Powers showing off that bright future that he's got as well. Who does not have a bright future in the SEC with the rest of the season coming? Winners and losers from this weekend in SEC play coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.